Conor Benn claims he wants Jaron Boots Ennis or Virgil Ortiz Jr. fights if Ortiz, of course, beats Michael McKinson. Stay tuned. I'm going to break that down. We're going to talk about it. Gang, gang. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. So Conor Benn, he did a Instagram live or went live on the social media, and Conor Benn says 100% he would like to face Jaron Boots Ennis at a Philly or the winner of Virgil Ortiz Jr. versus Michael McKinson. Now, just let me stop there. Michael McKinson has no power, and Virgil Ortiz is a good fighter, young, hungry, looking probably to prove because this fight got rescheduled. I give Michael McKinson very little chance to win. I'm picking Virgil Ortiz Jr. He's 18-0. After they fight, he'll be 19-0 with 19 knockouts, in my honest, humble opinion. So I'm just assuming Virgil Ortiz Jr. is going to win that. You know, they both made weight. It's just I'm giving Michael McKinson no actual shot. So Conor Benn, in this social media post, his Instagram or whatever, he says, quote, "The biggest fight for you is surely Boots or the winner, Michael McKinson and Virgil Ortiz." So he's reading the comments. He said exactly that. Yeah, Boots Ennis or the winner of Michael McKinson versus Virgil Ortiz, 100%. If McKinson beats Virgil Ortiz, that makes that fight so much more sellable. He's the most unsellable, unwatchable fighter I've ever known. So why would I want to take part in that? I wouldn't. McKinson has got to have some substance behind him. Boots is a great fighter. What's my prediction for Ortiz McKinson? As much as I like to see McKinson win, I don't see it going past 4 or 5. Ortiz is a fast starter. The problem is you don't have no power. And he only has 1 or 2 knockouts on his record. If that was me, I'd hit anything on his body. I just hunt him down, McKinson down, walk straight through him. He says he can punch, but he only has 2 knockouts. His biggest win is Chris Congo. Am I worried about protecting my O? I give value for money. I'm an entertainer. People love watching me fight, and that's that. I ain't no Mayweather, that's for sure. With my career, we took steps. I had the Sammy Vargas fight, who just fought Virgil Ortiz. I had the look against Chris Algieri. I beat a good fighter in Sebastian Formella when he had just lost to Sean Porter. We weigh up how I am in comparison, and you do the benchmark. There's no benchmark with Michael McKinson. Now, I have no idea what he meant when he says I'm no Floyd Mayweather. I mean, I don't know if that's supposed to be an insult or a compliment. I mean, I have no idea what that even meant. He says I'm no Floyd Mayweather, but I mean, I guess at the end of the day, he's right. He is no Floyd Mayweather because Floyd Mayweather is a legend and has done way more in his 50-0 record. Listen, I'm not going to mince my words. Conor Benn, he looks powerful, things like that, but it is very hard to tell at the domestic level with the UK fighters. The British fighters in general, you know, in boxing, very, very hard because the way they're matched. They're not typically matched, especially Rematch Room and Eddie Hearn. You know, they're not match tough. So you could see someone look invincible and phenomenal and keep stretching people, but it's like you have to, as the great Roger Mayweather would say, who he beat. He ain't beat no motherfucker. Okay, then. Like, it all depends on who you beat. And to me, Conor Benn, he hasn't fought anyone even remotely close to a Virgil Ortiz Jr. level threat or Jaron Boots Ennis. And I rate Jaron Boots Ennis the highest out of all of them, right? So let's say we give the benefit of the doubt to Conor Benn. He comes from a fight family, father fought, yada, yada, yada. Let's say he wants to truly fight Virgil Ortiz Jr. or he really wants to fight against Jaron Boots Ennis. I still don't see that as being likely in his next fight or so, because if your team, Eddie Hearn and Rematch Room and your dad or whoever's training you, if they have faith in you, they would have stepped up the competition a long time ago. Instead of, he just told you, I fought Sebastian Formella coming off a loss to Sean Porter. He fought Adrian Granados, and Adrian Granados' best work is at 140. And Adrian Granados, he didn't even look sensational or stop Adrian Granados, versus Danny Garcia had already beaten Granados years before and actually stopped him, right? And so on and so forth. Chris Algieri had already been through tough fights where he arguably could have lost to Ruslan Provodnikov of Russia. He had tough fights where he did lose to Pacquiao, got dropped like 6 times. Errol Spence, filleted him. And it's just like, what are we talking about? And then years later, Conor Benn gets him, or Chris Van Heerden loses to Jaron Ennis, loses to Errol Spence, and then they're matching Conor Benn with guys like that. So to me, these fights don't really prove anything. This is how they typically match domestically, and you never really know. You never know who's going to break through the patch or break through the bunch, because it's just not a way, it's not a strong way to gauge anything. So it's cool that he's calling out these guys, but I have a difficult time feeling that Eddie Hearn would really, and the powers that be in his team would go from the Granados and Algiers, who was really retired and I guess unretired, right? Also has no power, just like some of the other guys he fought. It's just I give him no shot. So I doubt they would go from that level of competition all the way to the top of the totem pole of the young gunners, the Virgil Ortiz Jr.'s and Jaron Boots Ennis. In fact, I don't even think that would be good for your career. That's like similar to what Eddie Hearn did with Kell Brook. Like, Kell Brook wasn't fighting any of the top names outside of Sean Porter. After he beat Sean Porter, he was fighting domestic level fights like Frankie Gavin and, a bunch of fight no something, all these guys that no one really wanted to see him fight. And then all of a sudden he said, I'm moving to 160 to fight Triple G, when Triple G had a 21 knockout streak and was bigger than him. Yeah, no, guys, had Max's big dramas, punches, nothing. That was just foolish. So even if they did do it, which I doubt, but even if they did do it, I don't even think that's good for a fighter's career. That's like, let's say you're training student drivers. They're 15 years old and they're not even good driving and backing out of the driveway. And then all of a sudden, you go around the park with them and residential areas and things like that, and they're not good. And then you just take them on the freeway the next day. That would be the equivalent of rapidly going from residential driving to all of a sudden say, hey, let's go on the freeway, where freeways have more accidents. You're traveling at higher rates of speed. It's more dangerous if you're just learning to drive. It's more nerve-wracking. There's big semi trucks. You don't really see semi trucks in residential areas, things like that. So that would be the equivalent of doing that to a fighter. Having a fighter fight the Conor Benn diet, like the people he's been fighting, and then all of a sudden step him up to Jaron Boots Ennis. That's freeway driving, right? So I don't see it happening. And what happened to the Chris Eubank fight? Eddie Hearn and Rematch Room, they keep talking about fights. They want, I want Derek Chisora and Wilder. I want Dillian White and Andy Ruiz, Dillian White and Luis King Kong Ortiz. None of these fights happen. So, I probably won't be talking about this much, but I seen it and I wanted to report on it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think. I'm just tired of the clout chasing and boxing. Make the fight. If you don't have the fight with the person, I would prefer you to, just work towards that and get your team on board to make the fights. We're getting this a lot. Conor Benn, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo, and then none of the fights are happening. Teo says he'll fight Devin. Ryan says he'll fight Devin and Tank, Conor Benn saying he'll fight Keith Thurman and Virgil Ortiz and Boots, and none of these fights are manifesting. Checkmate. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. SLC, subscribe, like, and comment. I'm the best in the business, but you already knew that. And I'm out.